Our reading this morning, or our second reading this morning, is from The Soul of the Whole by Victoria Safford. Each of us has a name, says the Israeli poet Zelda. Many names, really, given by our parents, our relationships, our history, and actions. Some names are bestowed on us by other people, names we might not claim as truly ours. Self-determination is a radical and sacred act, a human right. When a tiny child, just on the edge of words, speaks their own name for the first time, it is revolutionary. They become a little freedom fighter. When someone says, "I believe God knows my name," I think they mean our truest, original self. I think of that exercise in consciousness raising, in which participants are asked to each name 10 things that define them as a person. You make a list. I'm a father. I'm a son, life partner to this woman or this man, a widow, a musician, a Muslim, a Jew, a butcher, baker, candlestick maker. You're listing the things that define you. Irish, Armenian, African, Dutch, gay, straight, tall, short, blue-eyed, brown-eyed, black, white. A survivor of abuse or cancer or war. A lover of orchids or baseball, online gaming or golf. You list 10 things, and then in this exercise, you have to take 2 away. Just cross them out. The exercise is about what exclusion feels like, what invisibility or prejudice feels like. So you cross out 2 parts of yourself, and then another 2, then 3, until at some point you can't do it anymore. Not only because there's nothing left, but because it is a terrible betrayal. All these relationships defining you are connected, and the stories are connected. The legacies, losses, accomplishments, choices. These things are so finely intertwined with your original being that the weave can never be unwoven. Your true name, the name God knows, is a singular composite, a gorgeous and unprecedented tapestry. Who are you is a complicated question. Who are you? And whose? And why? And how? And who says so? Who gets to say? The soul is a spark deep within, inviolate, your own, and you stoke that fire with new vitality your whole life long, shining your bright flame and warming your hands at the heart of strangers and lovers and everyone else.
Some years ago, one of our children did an exercise at school not unlike the one described in our reading, designed to increase self-awareness and encourage an understanding of one's multiple positions in the world. First, they started by writing the identities they have. So I might, if I were doing this exercise, write, I am a mother, a daughter, a minister, a teacher, a spouse, a writer. I'm a granddaughter of those who have died. Then they were asked to go a little bit deeper. This is where it differs from the exercise in our reading. And in going deeper, I might write, I am a descendant of colonizers and also of the persecuted. I'm a justice seeker. I'm a lover of art. I am someone who connects people to each other. And then they were asked to go even further into the poetic, the metaphorical, the deepest, as long as it felt safe, places. So instead of I am a daughter, a mother, etc., I might write, I am my mother's quiet fortitude and her hard to cast off guilt. I am my father's passionate soul, his quick temper and sensitivity. I am the hope of generations that fled pogroms. I'm a wishful creator with a heart grateful for creation. I am my children's soft landing place, their safety and their encouragement. I am my husband's partner in vulnerability, in growth, in honesty, in love. I am one who sees the threads behind what is visible, building communities and forging relationships. The idea behind the exercise, and I encourage you to undertake it yourselves, is to help us remember that we are many things in relation to many people, in relation to our world. I'm Sarah. This is the name I was given, the name I choose to retain, but this name encapsulates untold other aspects of the uniqueness that is me, just as your name, given or chosen, holds multitudes, so much more than anyone else knows. And sometimes it's hard to even understand when we tell each other, I can say to you, I am a woman, but that means something particular to me that it might not mean to others. I might say I am religious, and that means something particular to me that it does not mean to others. I'm heterosexual. What that means to me might mean something different to you, right? We often assume we know who another is by virtue of their body or their clothes or their self-description. But these things are so nuanced for each of us. Sometimes we don't even know exactly what we mean when we make these declarations. And the truth is that who each of us is changes over time. I was a single mom for a long time. I did not think that identity would change. My relationship to my femininity as a child was very different from my relationship to it now. How I understand my role as daughter has changed drastically over time, from the cared for to the carer. I know that every single one of you has experienced changes in identity over time. There's that expression, YOLO. You've heard this, you only live once, yes? And it can convey that sense of like, carpe diem, seize the day, shoot your shot while you can, right? It can carry a sense of this is your one life. Be selfish, do you, take what you can, as Thoreau puts it, corner life and like wrestle every bit of delight or terribleness or joy or love or magic that you can out of it. And in many ways, I do not disagree with YOLO, though I will never wear a sweatshirt that says it. Life is all too fleetingly short. I want to know its magic. I want to feel I have lived. Ministry offers those of us who engage in it a special window into others' lives and the passage of time. Over now 12 years, I've had the privilege to visit with and sit with folks as they face the end of their lives. And I have never sat with someone who was dying and heard them say, I regret living life to the fullest. I regret being courageous. I regret offering my whole heart or working for what I believe in or sharing my love. Not once. More commonly, folks regret not taking the chances, not planning the trip because then the kids would have to miss school, not visiting their dying friend because the drive was too far or they'd miss work. Never have I heard someone lament that they prioritized relationship over social, societal work expectations. In my experience, those who are most peaceful, most at rest when they come to die are those who know that they have loved openly, lived authentically, and given themselves to what mattered most to them in this world. Time passes. I have been very aware of that, watching my fourth and final child in his first year of life. Time moves in ways that we cannot understand intellectually, really, but that we feel in our bones, in our body. We wake up one morning and we are no longer children. We wake up and we are done with having babies. Before we know it, we find we're nearing the end. In the weeks since I've been back, I have had conversations with many of you actually, who wonder about what it means to be in the later stages of your lives, who are confronting the status of elder, reflecting on the life you've lived and thinking about how you want to meet the rest of your life. And while these are perhaps questions that are felt more acutely toward the end of a life, for many of us who wish to live deliberately, consciously, intentionally well, these are questions we are asking ourselves all the time. These are questions I asked myself as a middle schooler. Who am I? What are my priorities and am I living them? This is my one precious life. What am I doing with it? Am I doing what I intend to? We only live once, and it's important that that understanding come along with the reminder that it is not to be used as a rallying cry for selfishness or inconsiderate living. We want to live well. We want to live our values, and our values call us to live with others in mind. It is also the case, and this is my but wait caution on using that YOLO phrase, it is also the case that that expression can be used to make things even harder for those who are struggling to live authentically. Right? So sure, YOLO, okay, but if you have to work 4 jobs to make ends meet and get food on the table for your children, I'm not sure how much room there is to go around YOLOing. If you're a trans person living in a conservative state that's working hard to deny your existence, or if you're a gay kid with homophobic parents, YOLO doesn't keep you safe from harm. We live in a time, and I understand that this is not the only time and place that has been like this, but we live in a time when people's ability to live the life they want to live authentically, to suck the marrow out of life, is under threat. Rampant, unchecked capitalism has widened the wealth inequality gap in ways that are almost incomprehensible. Most people of my generation will not own their own home because salaries have not kept pace with the cost of real estate. Many of my peers stop working when they have children because the cost of childcare is higher than their actual pay. And many others opt not to have children because not because they don't want them, but because the cost of having them is so beyond their reach. Our society is structured in ways that inhibit people living their lives in the ways they hope and long for. And there are those out there who are advocating for inhibiting this freedom even more. Over 12 years ago, and again 10 years ago, I could make the choice to parent alone by getting pregnant through assisted reproductive technologies. And recently, I could make the decision to have IVF and then to have a tubal ligation, making this baby my last. Making these choices about my own body, my own parenting, about the mother I wanted to be in this world, has been one of the ways that I have YOLO'd. These were my bold choices about my identity and my precious life, and I'm extremely grateful that I made them when I did, because now there are laws that identify embryos as human lives, threatening other folks' ability to make these choices by making the storage or disposal of embryos murder. There are laws that make abortion illegal or inaccessible, or that criminalize miscarriages or assisted reproduction. These invasive laws restrict our individual right to live the life we are called to live. We also know that LGBTQ lives are under threat in so many ways, from the Don't Say Gay laws in Florida and elsewhere, to the bans on gender-affirming medical care, to the laws that allow a school to out a trans student. There are so many people in so many places that are trying and succeeding to make it impossible for folks to live their authentic lives, to be who they are and make the most of their one life. These anti-reproductive justice and anti-LGBTQ laws spring from hatred, fear, ignorance, a misguided sense of righteousness. They come from a place of judgment, often a place of religiosity that claims exclusive knowledge of what is right, of what God is and wants, of what humanity is and deserves, of what is holy and sacred. Adherents of this particular brand of persecution and oppression often justify their position using God. God doesn't want this, and I love you too much to let you go against God in this way, so I'm going to legislate that option away. But these kinds of justifications presume that we all understand or believe in God in the same ways. We don't, right? These kinds of justifications presume that it is reasonable for one person's beliefs to override another's. Fundamentally, these kinds of laws that actively interfere with and interrupt people's lives are designed to bring all into an alignment with a narrow vision of who we are allowed to be, what we are allowed to believe, and how we are allowed to live the one life we have. They proclaim, this is the way, this is what is holy, my religion matters more than your life. These laws say that even if what you are doing harms no one, you cannot be yourself. These kinds of laws are not only antithetical to our shared belief in our own and each other's wholeness, they're an affront to our vision of the world that can be, an affront to our understanding of our human capacity for self-determination, an affront to our vision of diversity of theology. And so it is not enough for us to be shocked or upset by these attempts to restrain people's lives and individuality. It's not enough for us to bemoan and to worry. We are called to action. You only live once, and so too does everyone else. To live a relational life, a community-oriented life, a life bound by love for our fellow creatures and this earth we share, that kind of living carries with it the call to ensure that every single person also gets to YOLO. And this is where the selfishness or apathy of that phrase falls away, and in its place arises a deep, abiding, persistent insistence on our shared right to all of our identities with all of their nuances and all the ways they can change over time. So yes, YOLO, be brave, be bold, be courageous in your living and your loving, and remember that when you focus only on our own choices, on our own life, we're making room for those filled with judgment and hate to deny our beloveds their choices and their lives. So it is imperative I mean that for us Unitarian Universalists, for us liberal, progressive, faithful folks, no matter our vision of the divine or holy or humanity, no matter our understanding of what happens when we move on from this life, it is a religious, spiritual, and ethical imperative that we not only make the most of our own lives, but that we work hard to be sure that others can make the most of theirs. It is our work to ensure that children can become their best and most authentic selves, trying out different ways of being, aware that experimenting deepens understanding. We are called to create safe places for children to be free and supported as they discover who they are. It is our work to ensure that everyone lives with enough material support and economic freedom to enjoy life, their families, their time. We are called to work against the tide of greed and productivity and to create instead space for each other's relaxation and joy. It is our work to ensure that at any age, all of us can declare our own sexual orientation and gender identity and be believed and loved and supported. We are called to make room for those identities to change and shift and still be believed and loved and supported. It is our work to change the world. Sounds so big. To change the world, educating the ignorant wherever we can, offering healing to those who have been harmed, creating a place of celebration and welcome and safety for all. We are called to advocate for true justice and equity that does not deny anyone their journey to wholeness. And this work begins with understanding ourselves, with all our names and all our identities, and all the myriad ways we move through this life, and all the ways those change. We must remember that we are not static. Our own changing is never finished. We are called to attend to our lives with deliberation, intention, care, and courage. We only live once, so let's make it count. So may it be.